starting off my first recorded Dragons of Tarkir draft. We started here on not really an inspiring pick. The picks I think are, well, there's the rare here, the Faltering Invocation, the Saber-Tooth Outrider, and likely the... Actually, this card's also pretty good. This one may even be the pick. I'm not really inclined to go white in this format. A lot of things have to go right for white to be the correct color to go to. I'm really attracted either to the Faltering Invocation or the Salt Road Ambushes. I'm not really a fan of first picking Saber-Tooth Outrider yet. I know that that is a strong strategy. I think I'm going to go with the... Now I'm going to go with the Faltering Invocation, just take what I know. I haven't had much experience with the ambushes and I'd rather not commit to that card that early. Here then, I think there are, I think the options here are probably Youthful Scholar, Twin Bolt and Vulturous Avon. Again, I'm fairly new to this format, so I'm fairly sure that I'm not going to be picking optimally yet. I think I'm more inclined here to take the Vulturous Avon. I think Youthful Scholar is a card that I like a lot, but I think Youthful Scholar and the Avon are fairly close together, and I think I'd rather stay on black. Twin Bolt also, I think, probably quite close, but I think I'd rather stay on color here and just take the Avon. Okay. So at this point, we'd probably need to branch off into another color. The picks, I think, are probably the Rage, Butcher's Glee, and then either of these blue cards. I think likely the Interceptor is probably the better of the two. Yeah, in all honesty, I'm not really sure here what the pick is. I am inclined, I think, to take the Butcher's Glee and stay on color. I think it's probably, of the options I have, or the three main options, I think it's the weakest. But I don't think it's that far behind the other two to really make that much of a difference. I haven't played with Deadly Wanderings before, but I think it probably takes quite a lot to make that card work, and it's probably not worth it. I'm going to take the Glee there. Right, so some interesting options here. So from this pack, it seems that black is being cut. And it also seems like red is probably being cut as well. So I think we might get a read on the guy passing to us in that he's probably going to be black-red. We've passed a fairly strong white rare, so I think white is probably going to get drafted to our left. So really I'm looking at the blue cards here. So it's looking really between Palace Familiar, which I think is probably the better pick, or the Command, which I think is just the cooler pick. And I am inclined to take the greedier pick and look, I think, to draft blue, black, and then splash the Command. Okay, so the same thing in this pack in that we are getting cut quite hard from black and red, and blue seems to be reasonably open. White as well, to be fair, but I think white is probably not a safe color to go into given what we've already passed. So I think we're looking primarily at blue. And here I think it's probably then between the Void Squall and the Updraft Elemental. We're looking, I think, to draft more of a control deck, so I don't think the strike is that good. It is possible that we're overcommitting to blue and we should really be looking at green. But I think there's more of an upside to drafting a blue-black deck than a black-green deck. Okay, so yeah, same thing is happening here. So black and red getting cut quite hard, which is reasonable. They're the two best colors in this format, so it was a risk, I guess, taking a first pick black card. Here, still nothing fantastic in green that's going to justify kind of jumping colors. So I think we're just going to stick on our control plan and take the card draw spell. It's a bit expensive. I haven't got a lot of experience with this card, but I think it's probably a little bit ahead of the second updraft elemental. Okay, so same thing here. We have options between reduce in stature and anticipate. I'm not really a big fan of reduce in stature, primarily because it's in a format where enchant creatures are not brilliant, and also in a format with bolster, so the creature that you play this on can still be relevant later in the game. So I'm just going to take the anticipate, as that's more likely to make our main deck than this card here. Okay, there's really not that much that we want from this pack. The options, I suppose, are the Dragon Hunter and the Display of Dominance. I think I may take the Dragon Hunter here because it does potentially lead us into switching out of black and into blue-white and splashing for one of these, or a few of these black cards. And that actually might look like a good proposition because we're getting these white cards really late, which implies that black is very heavily drafted in this draft. So I'm going to take, rather than the second anticipate, which may or may not make the deck, I'm going to take this Sandcrafter Mage, which I think is a fairly high pick and I think is probably indicative of a opportunity that we might want to get into. I suppose the same can be said for these late green cards as well. But for now, I'm going to keep myself open to the blue-white plan. I think blue is definitely a color we're going to be in that we'll probably have to fight over. And then it may be that we're going to switch out of black and into white, despite the fact that we have passed a fairly strong white rare. Yeah, so these cards really, got these two, which is the stronger card. I think potentially the dragon. Yeah, I'm going to take the dragon. And this is again quite a tough pick between these two. I'm going to take the Dunecaster. Okay. So yeah, the draft has gone a bit sideways in that we started off with a fairly strong commitment to black, but after the third pick there were literally no black cards that we wanted. Okay, so here there's two picks between the Pacifism, the Butcher's Glee, and the Silumgar Spell Eater. I'm primarily looking at the Spell Eater because whichever color combination that we go into, I think blue is going to tie that together. Well, actually, having said that, we haven't necessarily, not necessarily tied to blue, are we? I mean, yeah, that's not for certain. We could end up playing blue-black. Having said that, we're still in the same position where we're getting cut out of black in pack 3. So despite the fact that currently my black cards are stronger, I think there's more incentive to be blue-white than there is to be or black-X. Given that, I think the pick is between Pacifism and the Spell Eater. I actually think Pacifism, despite the fact that I don't think it's as good here as it is in other formats, might be the pick. So I'm going to take Pacifism and really commit myself to being in white. And that second pick prerogative is really what I'm going to scoop up there. Right, okay. So the pick here then, probably between the summons and the familiar. I'm going to take the summons, and I think I'm looking to really commit to being blue-white, splashing black for... Well, actually, there's no strong incentive to splash back black at this point. I think I've just completely audibled. So, I think between these three cards, the Familiar, the Drowner, and the Warrior, I'm probably more inclined to take the Familiar. Yeah, okay. There's a good chance that that Warrior may even come back around, given how underdrafted white seems to be. However, this deck seems to be in a fairly schizophrenic place where... Oh, wow, okay. Well, this is a tough pick, because here we have the option of either taking the dragon or taking the summons. So we have one sacrifice outlet, two if we splash both cards. Otherwise, it's a standard 4/4 for 6, or flying 4/4 for 6, which isn't terrible, but the question is whether or not I want to stretch my mana for it when I can take the best blue common, which I think is probably the pick anyway. So I'm going to resist the urge to draft this and just take the strong blue common. Okay, and the question here is whether or not I want to take the 2-drop or just the dragon. This isn't really one of, well, it's not one of my favorite dragons to draft. It may be that one of these cards are better. I think even the Spell Fist might be the better card. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Spell Fist here, and hopefully one of these white cards will probably table as well. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's really nothing I really want from this pack, so just take the negate. Okay, and that's a second invocation, which, to be fair, I think I probably value a little higher than most. I'm still going to take it because I really am not a fan of reducing stature. I think it does perhaps lend itself to the kind of deck that I'm drafting. So yeah, I think probably looking to draft more of a control deck with this build so far. Okay, and we're just going to take the Dragonfire there. So this deck, whilst not being fantastic, doesn't seem too bad. I think realistically, though, the way that we've drafted is we've drafted with a view to maximizing our third pack, given that we know that both, well, we know that black is going to get cut, and we know that both blue and white are fairly open in pack 3, so hopefully we're going to get paid off there. Nothing I want in this pack. I'm just going to hate draft the Attendant. Haven't played with this card. I don't think it's very good, but I could see it having some functionality in this kind of deck. So yeah, I might try making that card work. I think the Wound is also a reasonable card to splash. I think what I'm looking for here is to get some dual lands in the third pack to make this splash a lot easier. Let's take this out. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Faithful. Though arguably in this kind of deck where I'm aiming to kind of get towards my high end, the Faithful doesn't seem terrible. Okay, well, Mastery of the Unseen, probably exactly what we wanted in this deck. Unfortunately, we are passing up some premium white commons, so ideally I think I'd want both Sandblast and Outcast in the deck. But this pack is pretty strong. I think we may get lucky and get the Sandblast back, especially if the person on our left values the Outcast above it. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely taking the Unseen. It's just we might get a removal spell come back around, and if not, we may even pick up the Whisk Away. Or yeah, I think we're looking pretty good with this pack. So we're going to take the Unseen. So the question here is whether I want to take the Cloud Form or whether I want to take the Dismal Blackwater. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of Cloud Form, especially since what we're likely to hit off that isn't really very good. In which case, I think I'm probably more inclined to take the Blackwater to make our Black Splash, well, easier. And there we go, there's a Sandblast, and it came in a pack where really there's nothing much else that we want here. Jeskai Sage is probably the next best pick, but Sandblast is easily what we're looking for in the style of deck. Unfortunately, we're not really reaping the white rewards that we were really hoping for. The Dragon Monk is not terrible, so we're going to take that card, but really with our third pick, with our third pick or fourth pick, we wanted a bit better than that. Right, so I don't think we're going to take the Harsh Sustenance and splash for it. I think we've already got a few good black cards to splash for. The question is whether I want to take the Outcast or the Whisk Away. We are a control deck, so the Whisk Away is probably better in this style of deck. But I do think the Outcast is a level above Whisk Away, so I'm going to take the Outcast here. Okay, then this is really what we're looking for. So Light Form, I think, is probably going to be the pick. We are going to give up the Scoured Barrens to take the Light Form, but I think the Light Form is good enough that we want to pick that card. It's unfortunate we haven't got any big creatures that we can really manifest. I guess we've got the Dragon, but yeah, that doesn't really work that well. Yeah, we're just going to take the Light Form anyway. It's not awful. With any luck, this land might come back around. I doubt it, but right, I think I'm going to have to just try to streamline our picks while we're waiting. Okay. Okay, so we've got another Outcast, we've got a Wandering Champion, we've got Harsh Sustenance, and we've got Whisk Away, so still some good picks here. I'm going to take the second Outcast, I think, instead of the Whisk Away. For much the same reason. I think the Outcast is probably better than the Wandering Champion. This card rarely gets through, so yeah, I'm happy with that pick. Just unfortunately we can't get the rest of these cards. Okay, so we're coming towards now the end of this, the end of these picks. So we're just going to take the monk here. Having said that, are we going to play the second monk over perhaps the refocus? Yeah, I don't think we're going to play refocus, and we've already got card draw for that. So yeah, let's just take the monk. Okay, unfortunately the cards that we wanted to come back didn't come back, so we've got a dragon at least. But it could have been a bit better. Considering, I'm actually thinking about the cleric over the dragon, in that the cleric I think perhaps does more against fast aggro decks. The dragon is going to turn off. Yeah, actually I'm thinking here about, well, having said that, no, I think we're going to get another cleric. Okay, no, I've gone with the cleric just because of the potential that it has as a sideboard card. I don't think we're going to play the third monk, so I'm just going to take the bigger creature here. Yeah, that's what I was worried about, is I couldn't remember. I know one or a few were still in packs, but I was worried about there being this card in the pack with a card I wanted more. Unfortunately, that's just sometimes how it goes. I'm going to take another one of those, and let's just take the card draw here. Actually, Jeskai Runemark's not awful in this kind of deck, so okay. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get all the cards back that we wanted, so our deck isn't as strong as it could be, but still, we got some good cards on the lap around. Right, so where are we? So I'm going to play that card and that card. So the issue here now is we have 23 cards. We've only got 10 creatures. We can play that, but in my experience, this card gets outclassed fairly quickly. Okay, so, right, what am I looking at here? Okay, so I think that's basically the overarching structure of the deck that we want to play. And we've got 5 cards to add to this. Okay, so if I'm going to play black cards, I think it's going to be, I'm going to play the I don't think I play the 2 Invocation, because I think I run the risk of coming up against a deck that really punishes me for running this card, like a token deck or so on. Having said that, this card's not really at its best in this kind of deck, because by the time you get to your black, they've probably already got quite a big board. I suppose also in a deck with pacifism, Farting Invocation isn't really where you want to be. So I'm going to take that card out as well, and then consider splashing the Aven. However, by this point, if I'm only splashing for the Aven, it may not even be worth the splash. In which case, I think I'm going to play the the Herald, and I've already got one card draw spell. I've got Anticipate. I'm probably going to play this as well, along with that card. The issue, I think, with this card is that it's not really high impact for the cards I've got in my deck. Yeah, it's not really doing that much here. I think I'm going to take the Faithful. It throws up some interesting interactions with the command. And then the last card. I think the last card, I'm probably looking at the Dragonfire over the Negate. Yeah, the Negate doesn't seem like it does too much. Having said that, I think it's probably stronger than these three. Yeah, okay, I'm happy to take the Negate then. Or am I? I suppose this card's also an option. Okay, I'm going to play that card. I've never really played with it. I'm not a big fan of it, but it fits kind of what we're aiming to do, which is to make the game go longer. And I have had some trouble playing against it when playing aggressive white and green decks, so it could be worse, I suppose. Okay, and that's the deck I'm going to run with. I think that land seems about right. Okay.